allow me to speak these words. That you are not lost. It's hard to say certain words because of the impact that it may have, but it needs to be said. I was reading in the King James Bible, and I was reading in St. Matthew 27, and I was reading up until Mark. And what I found, something very interesting. The Bible really comes alive when you have relationship with Jesus. Okay? And what I was reading at chapter 27 was Judas's death. Now, Judas Iscariot is the one who betrayed Jesus. He was the disciple who betrayed Jesus. And with all intentions, Judas had good intentions. Okay? He had good intentions. But here's where the difference between the time of law and the time of grace. So let's read a little bit. And it said, when the morning was come, all the chief priests and elders of the people took counsel against Jesus to put him to death. And when they had bound him, they led him away and delivered him to Pontius Pilate, the governor. Then Judas, when he had betrayed him, when he saw that he was condemned, repented himself and brought again the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders, saying, I have sinned in that I have betrayed the innocent blood. And they said, what is that to us? See thou to that. And he cast down the pieces of silver in the temple and departed, and went and hanged himself. And the chief priests took the silver pieces and said, is it not lawful for you to put them into the treasury, because it is the price of blood? And they took counsel, and bought with them the potter's field, to bury strangers in. Wherefore the field was called the field of blood unto this day. Then was fulfilled that which was spoken by Jeremy the prophet, saying, and they took the 30 pieces of silver, the price of him that was valued, whom they of the children of Israel did value, and gave them for the potter's field, as the Lord appointed me. Now very interesting part here is that when Judas realized, he came to the realization of Jesus. Now this is where it becomes very, very technical and very important. Now hear me. You may be aware of God, but you are unconscious to him. If you do not have relationship with Jesus, it all comes down to that relationship. It all comes down to the one who will pick you up and raise you up. Because here's the thing, you cannot raise yourself. No one reaches the high point without the approval of God. Now you might say to me, but there are plenty of people that have reached the high point. But that is the high point of what we call success. You can be successful and in admiration of all of the people of the world, but still have nothing because you don't have Jesus. Still seek love because you don't have Jesus. Still seek fulfillment because you don't have Jesus. There is nothing more fulfilling than God. Nothing. You might be satisfied for a moment, but that's only for a moment, and then you're lacking again. Not with Jesus. That's why that's why the Bible talks so clearly, and he says that it is easier for a camel to be run through with a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of God. When you find yourself in that comforts and you do not have the foundation of Jesus, where you humble yourself daily, you abase yourself daily before his feet, you will be corrupted. Judas realized that he was corrupted, that his good intentions led him astray, that his feelings led him astray. And here's how terrible this is. He was the one condemned, but Satan was the one who possessed him. Now, how's that fair? That means that Judas may have had the intention to betray God, but Satan had the action. Now, what am I talking about here? In the time of law, before Jesus died, the enemy had access to anyone he wanted to possess. Any demon could possess anyone. It was free for all, because all were condemned. We were condemned in the spirit as well as here in the physical. How do I know that? Because when we disobeyed God, what happened with Satan, with Lucifer? The moment he had pride in his heart, the moment he fell from the spirit down into the mortal realm. And he took a third of the stars or of the angels with him. Because he was blinded by his own pride. The Bible says it this way: he that is not in fear of God is not counted wise. Only when you fear God are you counted wise. The enemy lost that fear of God. And because of that, his pride got in his way, and he did not realize who he was turning against. Or maybe he did. Personally, we don't really know. But I can tell you, he is satisfied with his choice. And he is completely, there is no reconciliation. When it comes to the things of the Spirit, it must be kept. How do we know this? Because when we disobeyed God, when we ate of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, that was when we disobeyed in the Spirit. And when you disobey in the Spirit, you fall down to the mortal. But we were condemned in the Spirit because sin was brought in. And because sin was brought in, not only were we covered by condemnation physically, but also spiritually. And that's why Jesus came, and that's why people were confused with Jesus. They were confused because they thought, Jesus, you were called here to fix things. But he did come to fix things. He just didn't fix things that were temporal. He first fixed things that were eternal, and that was our spirit. That is why whoever believes on Jesus and walks the path and builds relationship with Jesus is not condemned. They will have everlasting life. But your walk with Jesus cannot keep you the same. Jesus is too potent for you to remain the same, for you to think the same, for you to do the same mannerisms of what you've been doing, to speak still foul language. You must remember that there was someone before you, and his name was Saul, who also wished to delight God. But he did so in his way, and it was counted to him as disobedience. Saul was told to destroy, I believe it was the Amalekites, and to destroy them completely and utterly. Why? Because God saw all of their doings. All of what they did to children, all of what they did to men, woman, and child. They saw everything. I mean, God saw everything. So no wonder he did not want nothing to remain. Because we serve a just God. He loves justice, but he does it on his time. And at this time, it was time. And Saul disappointed. Because when God said, go, destroy them completely, leave nothing left, the people looked at the gold, they looked at the treasures, they looked at the animals, they looked at the fields, and they saw, and they went after their greed. They went after their way. And when they went after their way, they made the king, who was supposed to be leading the people, who was supposed to be, and this is sometimes what happens. When you're leading without a true leader, which is Jesus Christ, then you will be lost. You will make mistakes, and those mistakes will be fatal. God does not need us. He wants us. He does not need our guidance. The other, I came across this this pastor. I believe his name was. I don't want to get it wrong, but it was a oldish man, and this man was quite a while ago attacked, and attacked in the church. I believe his name is Mari, something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, or if you can share with me that name, that would be great. But I'll get it eventually. But anyway, this pastor spoke something that was so. It is noble. But often we can be very fleshly in trying to please God, and sometimes we can, in our attempt to please Him, get in the way. So what do I mean? He said something very interesting, which I believe is very noble. And he said that he wished he could stand in the way of 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 God's enemies, or of those people that keep breaking God's heart. He was talking about, it was real brief, but he was talking about basically being God's protector, God's defense, and it's a very noble thing to do. However, we must not forget about Uzziah, I believe his name was, according to the Bible, where they were traveling, and they were taking the Ark of the Covenant, and they were taking it in this cart, and they were the animals were pulling the cart, and there was a bump in the road, and the Ark of the cart of the Ark of the Covenant fell. It was about to fall, and Uzziah tried to undertake that cart, or that ark, and it upset God. God does not need our protection. He is our protector. He is not tired. He is awake. Us saying, although noble, our mindset must always be to understand that our God is not tired. He is not tired of the fight. He may be wearied of people's evil doing, or of people turning against, but he does not give up. We serve a God that is wide awake. He hasn't even really gotten to a point where he is really taking, really showing us. No, he's been holding back. There's mercy in what he does. That's why the Bible talks about God is not, he does not take joy in dealing with the wicked, nor the prideful. So although noble to want to protect God and his emotions and his feelings, do not mistake. God does not need our protection. We need his. And he delights in those people, in those children that humble themselves at his feet. He delights in them. It is a joy. It is a reinvigorating joy. But believe you me, he has not grown wearisome. It has only been about 6 days, according to God. God's calendar, I mean. For 1,000 years unto God is as one day. We're not even living a full day according to God. So we must understand that as Saul made the mistake of trying to please God his way and not pleasing God God's way. Remember, God has desires. He's not here for us. We are here for him. And the delights that we get, those delights are gifts from the Most High. But the moment we take ownership to think that we can protect him, or that we can serve him the way we want to, that is the moment you are losing your way. Because you cannot uphold you. God upholds you. You don't know what the day may bring. God knows what the day may. Because each and every day he undertakes So do not make the mistake. And like I said, it was a very noble thing to do, but we must be so careful with how we serve God. In the sense of, and what I mean by careful how we serve God is, let us not, we ought not to serve God our way alone. God gives us freedoms, of course. Any father gives his child freedom that loves him. But do not mistake the freedom to think that you may speak the way you wish. No, there is a joy, there is a certain fruit in discipline. There is a certain fruit in holding, in doing things God's way, because it delights him. And when you love someone, you want to delight them. You want them to have something that they desire. Because God gives us what we would desire. He guides our desire, because sometimes what we desire is for the wrong reason. And it can poison us, and it can cause great distress in our lives. But coming back to the full circle, Judas, that turned away from God, came to the realization of it. And when he came to the realization that he condemned the Most High, that is when he turned. He repented. He gave back what he had taken. And this is a great picture of what the enemy loves to do. The enemy loves to give you something that when you give it back to try and make up for the pain and the suffering and the destruction that you caused, it means nothing. That's how scary this is. Judas may have had the intention to betray, but the enemy came and he fulfilled it. He fulfilled it by possessing Judas Iscariot. And Judas Iscariot, or Judas, was no more the disciple of Jesus. He was now the disciple of the enemy. That is why when Jesus died for us on the cross, the enemy could no longer just enter in wherever he wanted to, or whenever he wanted to. This is why it's so important, as I said before, to serve God the way in a way that delights him. And if it delights him that you should not defile your body, then you should not defile your body. If it delights him that you should not speak a certain way, then you should not speak a certain way. If it delights him that you must abstain from certain things, like fasting, then abstain from certain things. The more you feed the flesh, the more the spirit diminishes. Now, obviously it won't die, but it can. It can get to a point where you are so about your flesh, you are so about what you want, that you don't realize that you're hurting people to get it. Judas repented and turned away. And then after he saw that they would not, that it wasn't enough to pay back what he gave, or what he received for this, he went and he hanged himself. Now this is just my own opinion, but Yes, Judas went to hell. I do believe that. Because he ended his life while Jesus was still alive. But I do believe that the Bible does speak about this very moment, where if a man, if a man or woman turned from their wicked way, the day they turn from their wicked way, God will forget all of their wickedness. But this turn is an actual turn. It's not, okay, God knows the intention. He knows if your heart is truly in it. We don't. He knows if there's an agenda. Okay? Nothing is hidden before God. So when Judas truly turned unto Jesus, he truly turned away from the enemy. And out of shame, he ended his life. Now, I truly do believe that, yes, he went into the pit. He went into hell. And he was condemned. Right? But I believe that passage came into play. That when Jesus died on the cross, that he too went into. He went into the pit. Because we were condemned, our life keys, if you will, were down in the pit. We were condemned. We were meant and completely vulnerable to going into hell, to be condemned eternally. But then Jesus died for our sins, and he went to go fetch everyone that did not belong. And I do believe that he went to fetch, and he fetched Judas. I do believe that. Because Judas turned his heart. He changed, he repented. It means he turned back to Jesus, whom he betrayed. And God fetched him in the pit of hell and said, come back. I do believe this, because the Bible says it very clear. The day that you turn from your wicked way, or the day that you turn to wickedness, will be the day that I forget everything else. I forget all your good. I forget all your bad. And we call, what does the Bible say? And we call our God unequal. You are never too far gone for God to get you back. Never. But the choice does lie with you. If you turn from your wicked way today, and it's a true turn, that means that doesn't mean that there won't be repercussions. Oh yeah, there'll be repercussions, all right. There'll be those who sneered at you, will call shame upon you. There'll be those that you have hurt that will not forgive. There will be those that you have, you affected their lives. And because of that, repercussions, always. But Jesus will know you. Jesus will walk you through. He will make all of those moments work out for your good. Judas really did not have a choice but to be possessed. There was no defense. That's how unfair the fight against the enemy is. We have no defense but Jesus. And because he died for us on the cross, he has fulfilled the solution for the eternal damnation. But now the physical, the mortal, that is why we decay. That is why we grow up and grow old. It was not meant for that. I do believe that we were supposed to reach our prime age and stop. Maybe that was the intention. I don't know. It would be significant. But hear this. It is not the first time that this has happened. Where in the very moment, someone turns their life onto Jesus. Now, isn't it lucky that Judas was baptized? Not really. I've said this before, but I want to touch on this point again. That all were baptized. Oh yeah. Each and every person was baptized. There's nobody on this planet that is not baptized. Now you might completely say, listen, you're insane. What are you talking about? Allow me the revelation that God gave me. Allow me to give you the revelation that God gave me. That's in the Word. This is built up with relationship. You don't get this just by reading the book. You got to build the relationship. You got to seek ye first. And when you're seeking God, you're not just going to find him in the Word. He is out there even. When you look up in the sky, he's there. When you look down on the ground, he's there. God is preaching all the time. We have to seek him. So here's here's the passage. I may be paraphrasing, so forgive me. Before I formed thee, I knew thee. I sanctified thee. What's another word for sanctified? Go ahead, look it up. Because I did. It's baptized. God is thoughtful, not thoughtless. Here's why. Because he understood that there would be times when the enemy, like what he did with regards to when King Herod killed all of those children and created a great weeping among God's people, because he killed all of those children trying to seek Jesus. God knew this. And those children returned unto him. They did not go into the grave. No child that has been born, whether they have been aborted or whether they have been, given away, no child, no baby that has not had a choice or the ability to choose has been condemned. Believe me. Before I formed thee, I knew thee, and I sanctified thee. It means that God has baptized all of his creation the moment that they are born. Even before they are born. When they are in the womb, what does the Bible say? The Bible says that when you are only, he that is born of spirit and water all babies are born of spirit and water. You're baptized the moment you are conceived. And then, yes, of course, when you are able to make the choice, it is your responsibility as God's child to make the choice. That is why you have now the ability to choose. So now you get to choose. Now, even though you were sanctified as a baby, remember, a baby grows up and eventually becomes an adult and can make their own decisions. Or a teenager can make their own decisions. And when you are able to make your own decisions, you have been developed to make your own decisions. But until that time, you are still His. You still belong to Jesus. And then finally, even if you grew up with a different ethnicity or a different way of growing up that was not Christian, these God would undertake until that very moment that you are able to make your own decisions. And now the turning towards Him becomes a symbolism of a token of gratitude, a token of now I will serve the Lord. It's right there in the Bible. So every child that you think that was condemned and went to hell, I mean, if this doesn't clear it up, then I don't know. But I had the same problem. I didn't feel particularly that we served a loving God, knowing that babies who could not even make the choice were being condemned. But I believe this was what the enemy used as a tipping point for people to decide, or as a diversion road, to make those that commit to Jesus will come to the realization that that's not the case. But those who do not commit and just follow according to, the crowd, if you will, they will fall off. And they will come to despise or hate or be angry with God. So let me just clear that up, if it hasn't been clear already. Those kids are not condemned. God says it in His Word. He baptized them before they are even out of the mother's womb, which means the moment they're in there, they're baptized. So if anything happens to the mother or the child, they return to their king. They return to their father. They return to God. They do not go into the pit, whether they be of any religion. There's the truth. You can either accept it and come to the realization of the loving God we serve, or you're not. God is not thoughtless. My goodness. He is thoughtful. There is much more things that He wishes to show His people that He can't. Because they're not emotionally ready. They're not spiritually ready. They're just stuck, seeking and hurting one another for temporal things. Living in this very small bubble. A very small bubble of selfishness, of greed, pride, and many other things. Wouldn't it be really sad if, as Judas, you came to the realization at the moment that things were now just over? Wouldn't it be really sad that there was a truth that you heard and ignored, or there was not even a truth that you were able to receive because of your pride, because you just went with your feeling? There's another passage in the Bible that talks about the tearing of children. That I believe it was Elisha. Yeah, I believe it was Elisha. And they were calling him Baldy Baldy. And for the life of me, I don't understand that the Bible in the King James Version, it says tear as in T-A-R-E, and not tear as in T-E-A-R. These children were not ripped apart. The Bible doesn't talk about them being ripped apart. Why would they not be obvious? Is God trying to hide something from us? Is the Word trying to hide? No, the Word is the truth. The Word is not meant to close things. It is meant to open up things, to give clarity. So I asked God. I'm confused about this. And when I seeked it out, another word for tear is not just like the sowers, the wheat and the tares, but also reduce. This bears that came out reduced the children, meaning those kids ran away. They scared them. Otherwise, the Bible would have revealed that there was a massacre, basically. How can we serve a loving God if that is what He allows? Innocent children. Innocent children. Why would Jesus say, suffer the little children? Why would He say that? Then at that moment, He should have said, deal with this child, because they're playing about here. How can we conceive? It doesn't even make sense where the passage ends. It ends as if nothing ever happened. It truly blows my mind that people truly believe that God allowed those kids to be ripped apart by those bears. Do we not serve a loving God? Do you think He is not capable? I mean, this is why relationship is so important. If someone said to you that, hey, your mother is a ruthless killer, or your father is a ruthless man, and they said this to you, and you know your father, you know your mother, you know your brother, you know your sister. They came and said this to you. Tell me, what would you say? Really? Wow. That I knew it. I knew it. They had to be. That time when they didn't want to share? Yeah. That time when they didn't want to share their toys with me or their breakfast with me, or they didn't want to give me a ride to the mall. I know it sounds silly, but that's truly what, if you don't have a relationship with Jesus, how can you think that we serve a God of love, the very pinnacle of love that He showed, which is sacrifice? That He would be so merciless and say to Elisha that they called Baldy Baldy. Elisha was frustrated, yes, absolutely. He just, I believe it was he lost his mentor, Elijah. He received the double portion. He was exhausted. He was tired. So of course he was frustrated, and he said, curse these children. But he never called them to death. How can we walk with God? And then when we see children being hurt or murdered right before our eyes, that we keep on walking. Did Jesus not turn towards the leper? Did he not say, suffer the little children? Did he not say, I desire mercy more than sacrifice? I am astonished at people that think that is the case. That even the fact that it is so unclear, it is as if a moment just happened, and then those kids killed. Let's forget about that, and let's continue the story. Come on. Come on. How can we call God merciful when he shows no mercy? He is the God of mercy. He is the God of love. He is on every level God. So honestly, to me personally, if I feel that there is something that I'm not totally in agreement with that's happening in the Bible, I need to fix me. I can't fix the Bible. Because God willed this Bible. It was his desire to give us a guide through his word for life. And we're fighting about the guide, looking at every other guide. So I'll leave it at that. But let's really, if you want to know if my words speak true, build relationship with Jesus, and he will show you. I don't need to convince you. I know I'm convinced. I know why I'm convinced. Because I seek thee first. I don't need to convince you. I'm letting you in on what I discovered. Because I seeked him, because I wanted to know. And I wanted to know from him. And he showed me through the word. So we sit with no excuse. If there are things that have happened in your life that seem unfair and seem as if God never listened to you, seek ye first. He will bring that to light. Why, when, how? He will bring it to you in that time. But one thing I can tell you is that when Judas realized and this is what the enemy wants for all of God's people. He wants to keep you, build you up to yourself. And then when you are finally right at the point of your joy or thinking everything is fine, suddenly the carpet is removed. And you've been building a humongous tower. A humongous tower that will now fall upon you. Because there's no foundation. Judas was condemned for something that he only had the intention of doing, but didn't actually do. But the enemy came and he possessed him. The Bible talks about two sons, where the father came to the one son and asked him, can you look after the vineyard? And another son, he asked, can you look after the vineyard? And one of the sons said, no, father, I'm busy. And he felt guilty. And then he went and he did what his father asked him. But the one who said, yes, sure, Dad, I'll do it, he didn't. It is not your intention that is important. Judas could have sat there at the table thinking of betraying God and not move a muscle. But when the action happened, that is when the condemnation was activated. Well, it's always been activated, but what I'm saying is the action created the result of him being shamed and finally ending his life. But like God was thoughtful of Peter and removed that curse that Peter placed upon himself when he denied God 3 times. Because 3 is like a confirmation. It's like I don't know how to put it, but basically it's complete, if I can put it that way. Yeah, and I understand that 7 is completion, but just hear me. When Jesus asked Peter thrice, he asked him, do you love me? Because Peter said, I deny. He denied him thrice before the cock crowed twice. Then Jesus came and said, do you love me? Feed my sheep. Do you love me? And he asked again, do you love me? And Peter said for all of these times, yes, wiping clean what he said before. Breaking that. That's how strong love is. It breaks the curse. Okay? And when he did this, this is now so too. If he was thoughtful about that moment of Peter, then I am pretty sure he would be thoughtful about that moment when Judas repented and turned back to Jesus and felt shame and felt humiliation. What a horrible feeling to realize you've betrayed someone who only cared for you. You betrayed someone who was looking out for your better. You betrayed someone who you did not even know. Who you did not even know did so many things that you could not even perceive if you wanted to, that would have caused you so much destruction, so much more hurt, so much more vulnerability, that you took the smallest portion of the greatest strike of what the enemy came to come and give you. Remember, the enemy, when he had the opportunity to hurt Job, he killed. He didn't mince words. He didn't come to Job like he came to Adam and Eve, subtly talk to Job and say, listen, stop following that. No. He didn't even intervene into his children, possess one of his children to try and lead him astray. No. He killed. The closest thing that he could. He destroyed the cattle. He did away with all of the wealth. And who did he have to go back to get approval? And say, okay, but let me get him. Let me afflict him. Because, yeah, I took everything away, but, maybe it's because he's healthy. Maybe that's why. And God showed the greatest trust in Job, which was well-founded, because he spoke right of God. Yes, he was in tremendous, such a feat of fall. Is it takes a tremendous person. Because he didn't once think to himself, let me condemn. His wife did. His wife said, why don't you just condemn God and die? And he said, basically, I'm paraphrasing, but he basically told her, stop, don't even, foolish words, don't even use that. I'm not even talking to you right now. And he focused on Jesus. And all that he kept on asking was to speak, if he could speak to Jesus. And trying to understand, why did this happen? Did I do anything? But he never once thought to himself, this is not the way for me. No, he took all of that. And his trust was still in God. He hated himself, sure, but his trust was still set, solid with God. The great thing about, I would say, about these events is that it really shows that there is always a bigger picture. God's love is so intertwined in his word. It is so intertwined with life that it is hard for us to perceive it just in one go. That's where relationship comes in. You want relationship with Jesus. Even the enemy had a relationship with God. And you know how I know this? Because when he went with the sons of God to God, God did not chase him out of the building, out of the temple. Instead, God asked him, where are you coming from? As if the event of the fall didn't even happen. Apologies. So as if the fall never even happened. Him falling to earth, taking a third of the angels with him. They spoke as if there was nothing wrong. Now, if the enemy himself had to go back to Jesus to find a solution to his problem, why in the world are we looking elsewhere? The very one that set all of these wicked things in place and placed it in our hands because of our obedience or disobedience. He's the one seeking solutions and approvals by the Most High, who you find is not the solution. What else is there to say? There is an absolute truth that you cannot deny whether you want it or not. So I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you very much for listening. If you listened this far, you're incredible. You are someone that is going to make a great change in the world. But remember that change starts with you, not with anyone else. Don't worry about them. Let God deal with them. It's you. You are meant for great purpose, believe you me. If you only knew. One of the most powerful things I've seen is people who have great disabilities. There's this one gentleman. He doesn't have both his arms and his legs, and one thing that was revealed to me was that you can't really challenge him. He is a true warrior for God, because you can't really challenge him on what he's saying. You can't say, oh, but my life is pretty bad and God hasn't done anything. He doesn't have his arms and legs, and he's living life greater than them that have arms and legs. Now, of course, in a heartbeat, I believe that he would choose to have those limbs and arms, and maybe do still these great things. But the message that he sends, the words that he speaks, they're undeniable. The words he speaks of God, they're undeniable. They're powerful. You gotta hush up, because look at his situation and look at the power that God has placed in him to be able to endure that for the glory of God. That is not small. And there are many other people, men and women, that you have a tremendous strength about you. You see life in a way that draws colors that we can, as people who have all their amenities and have no disabilities, cannot perceive. God has gifted you with power not of this earth, strength not of this earth. Those people that belittle those, different individuals, they are only beacons. Truly, they are only beacons to show you that even though they have their amenities, they're whole in their bodies. But to belittle you, which means they lack strength. That they have the greatest lack, because they see your value. So understand, if you're that person, I want you to know you're incredible. You are truly one of the most powerful beings that we can find on this earth. It astonishes me, truly. It astonishes me. And it inspires so many people. The moment you step out, it inspires so many people. But I can tell you, the best way to harness that power, the best way to harness that strength, to inspire others as they will inspire you and uplift you, is to understand God. It is to understand Jesus, to build that relationship with Jesus, because I promise you, He will give you things as He has given Solomon, as He has given David, as He has given Joseph, as He has given Samson. He will astonish you with the gifts that He has planted in you, that you can't have until you get to know who he is. Because only then will you be able to grasp and understand what kind of power you house. So I want you to know that you are blessed. And if you are someone that is listening that is whole, feel it a gift. Take it as a gift. Do not mock what God has created. He has not created you in weakness. He has created you in great strength. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. And if you listen this far, you're astonishing. Because you intend to really reach the height and you intend to really reach you and to really build relationship with Jesus. Let me tell you right now, that is not weak. It takes tremendous strength to walk with God. Tremendous. But it is worth it. And yeah, the more you build with him, the greater, I wouldn't say the tasks get easier, but they become more exciting. Instead of being afraid of the battle, now you long for the battle. Instead of being worried about mishaps, you look forward to the mishaps because you wonder how God is going to use that mishap for your good. Instead of the mistakes, now you walk fearlessly. And if a mistake happens, you know that you serve a God that can undertake that mistake. Because you've learned to trust him in both the storm as well as the sunshine. So thank you so much for listening. And most importantly, thank you for being alive. Because to be willing to live is to not give up. So let me just tell you that it is a great and incredible thing that you are willing to keep going. That you are determined to find the peace you seek. You are determined to find the joy you seek, because God comes that we might have life, and life more abundantly, not living life in fear. God can do away with your fear. To a point where a dark alley, if you know you serve your God, it's not going to bother you. But obviously you are going to be mindful of it more. Because he will be able to speak things to you that others cannot perceive. And give you great feats of glory that belong to him. Obviously the praise belongs to him. But you will feel the effects of that glory. That is why it's so important to consistently, as you go up, humble yourself down. So when he raises you up, you humble yourself down. He knows your blueprint. He knows your identity. He knows your image. If I keep on, if I don't stop it here, I'm going to keep going. So, have an incredible day. God bless. And hope to speak to you again soon.